everybody, it is time for the Blitz, my college football picks for the week of September the 24th. Before I have those picks, and before we review how I did last week, and you're going to like it because we did quite well on our picks against the spread, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Big 12. As you've probably heard by now, it's old news. The Big 12 will remain intact. It's for the second time in as many years the Big 12 avoids foreclosure. As on Tuesday, the Pac-12 made certain that they did not want expansion. Now, it's not to say that initially they weren't interested in Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Texas Tech, but as you can probably tell, the negotiations did not go as planned, in particular with Texas, who reportedly did not want to make concessions with their TV network, and also they did not want equal revenue sharing. Pac-12 basically said, then we don't want expansion. Texas said fine. So it's one of those things where if Texas and the Pac-12 were able to come to a truce, then they would have taken Texas, the Pac-12, along with Tech, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. They didn't want just OU and OSU. They wanted all four, and they definitely wanted Texas, but it wasn't going to work out that way. So on Thursday, Oklahoma called a press conference. President Boren, AD Joe Castiglione, head coach Bob Stoops, and said that they want to make the Big 12 work. So even though, as of now, there are going to be 9 teams entering next year, Big 12 does plan on expanding. They also have put into an effect a new rule basically saying that for the next 6 years, any Big 12 school that decides to go somewhere else, whatever TV revenue you bring in, it does not go to your new conference, it belongs to the Big 12. That will make it just about impossible for any other conference to want a Big 12 school, knowing that that TV money is not going toward them, it's going toward the Big 12. So that's pretty much that. Looks like the Big 12 will remain intact after all this. And this time, it looks like it's not going to be a recurring year-by-year issue, thanks to that new rule that the Big 12 has implemented. And by the way, Dan Beebe out as Big 12 commissioner. That was absolutely no surprise whatsoever. So that's the scoop on the Big 12. As far as future teams, nobody really knows that. BYU seems like a strong candidate. Don't be surprised also, even though the geography doesn't make a whole lot of sense, if West Virginia gets a Big 12 invite. I keep hearing TCU's name brought up, but we'll see if that's legitimate, and Louisville's a name as well. No timetable as far as when the new Big 12 teams will be added to the league, and there's no telling how many. So just keep it right here for the latest. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the picks, and before we pick this week's games, last week, wow, you talk about a bullet, bam. 11 wins and only 4 losses. A one on the Georgia Tech, Florida, Boise State, LSU, Clemson, as well as Navy, Illinois, Washington, Iowa, Oklahoma State, and Texas games. Won all those against the spread. My 4 losses, by the way, I picked Ohio State over Miami. That was stupid. I had Maryland given the points against West Virginia. That didn't fly. Notre Dame walloped Michigan State. I liked Michigan State as the underdog to cover. That didn't happen. And Syracuse came close to covering that big spread, but USC won by 21 points. I think the spread was like 16, 17, or 18, but Syracuse didn't cover, so I lost there. But 11-4, that's a documented 73% against the spread. Remember, this is for entertainment purposes, but we're off to a good start. So let's go ahead and start with week number 2 of my picks. I know we started a little bit late, but this is week number 2, week of September 24th, all Saturday games. Let's begin in the South with a big one. I'm surprised College Game Day isn't at College Station for this one because it's top 10 teams. 6th ranked Oklahoma State at 8th rated Texas A&M. Last year's game in Stillwater, one for the ages. High scoring game. Oklahoma State won on a last second field goal. Wouldn't be surprised at all if the margin were again 3 points. This one again is going to be high scoring, but I don't know how both defenses are going to do. When in doubt, take the home team. That's what a lot of people say. I think A&M is going to win, but the spread is at 4.5 points. So I think Oklahoma State will cover the spread, and A&M will probably win the game. But we're going with point spreads, so I'm going to take those 4.5 points on Oklahoma State's side. Arkansas and Alabama, another huge game. Staying with the South. Bama is an 11-point favorite. Two good teams going at it, but big differences in this game. Bama has a better defense. Also, with Nile Davis out for the year for the Razorbacks, Alabama has a stronger running game, plus the game's in Tuscaloosa. So, to me, it's not unrealistic for Bama to cover those 11 points. So, I'll take Alabama giving the 11. And Kansas State at Miami. We're going to find out how good the Wildcats are. They played some patsies so far, but hey, they're undefeated. And for Arthur Brown, the linebacker of the Wildcats, it's a homecoming of sorts. He transferred from Miami, so he's going against his old team. Miami, giving the 13 at home, just came off a big win over Ohio State. I think Miami's got the better athletes, but it's going to be hard for them to get jacked up for this one in comparison to how they got ready for Ohio State. So Miami probably will win, but Kansas State, I will take those 13 points. So K-State plus the 13 against Miami. It'll be a little closer than you might think. And Georgia Tech, the Rambling Wreck in the top 25. I've already had a blogger give me a lot of crap because I picked Tech to finish 5th in their ACC division. I still don't think the Rambling Wreck have played anybody good, so I still have my doubts about them. They are the favorite in this ball game. They're favored by 7 points. North Carolina typically plays good defense. I think this game is going to be close. I'll take North Carolina plus the 7 points. Now let's move to the East. LSU at West Virginia. This is where College Game Day is at this week. LSU's been more battle-tested this year. Better team, better coached. West Virginia's got a good offense, but LSU has the better athletes. I'll look for the Tigers to win this game, minus the 6, so give me LSU giving the 6 points. Vandy's at South Carolina. The Commodores have played better than I thought. Vanderbilt's played really good, but now it's a big test for them. South Carolina had a difficult time, did beat Navy, but it was close. I think Spurrier, the old ball coach, will have South Carolina playing really well. South Carolina, they've played tougher competition so far this year. So the Gamecocks at home, I'll take South Carolina minus the 15.5. Notre Dame at Pitt. Panthers blew a big one at Iowa this past week, had that game locked, only to see the Hawkeyes come back. Notre Dame's at 2-2. You can make an argument that they could be 4-0. The game's at Pitt, but I think Notre Dame's going to slaughter them. I've got Notre Dame winning this one minus the 7 points. And Florida at Kentucky. The Wildcats have been a decent team over recent seasons. Florida, first true road game of the year. I think Florida is playing very good, but the game's at Lexington. And also remember, too, that it's a 19.5-point spread. That's a lot of points. So I think Kentucky will cover. So Kentucky plus the 19.5. And then we're going to go to Ohio State. The Buckeyes at home against Colorado. I think the Buckeyes bounced back after that tough loss to the Hurricane to Miami last week. Colorado did beat Colorado State, but Colorado's had a pretty tough schedule, playing 8 road games this year on a 13-game schedule. So Ohio State, the Buckeyes minus the 14. And Army at Ball State. Why are we talking about this game? Because that's who Oklahoma plays next week is Ball State. I look for the Cardinals, who've played better than I thought so far, to cover the 4. So Ball State plus the 4 points against the Cadets of Army. Tulsa at Boise State. This is going to be a big-time rout. Kenny and Johnson are out for Tulsa. And Boise at home, nobody wins on the Blue Smurf field. Boise State, I think, can cover the 28. So Boise State minus 28. Nebraska at Wyoming, a couple of undefeated teams. This 2 good offenses as well. Nebraska, I think, is giving too many points in this one. They couldn't cover against Washington last week. They're not going to cover this week. They'll win, but they're not going to cover the 21. So Wyoming plus the 21. USC at Arizona State. I think the Trojans are playing some good ball right now. They should be able to play well against Arizona State. The game's in Tempe, but Arizona State has already lost. They lost to Illinois last week. I look for USC to win. If they don't win, maybe lose by a point or 2. So USC plus the 2.5 against Arizona State. And then finally, Oregon against Arizona. The Ducks on the road, Arizona. They've been a little banged up. They've had a pretty hard September, as I thought they would. I'll look for Oregon to go to Tucson and win easily. Oregon minus the 15 against Arizona. Those are my picks for the week. We'll review them next week. And don't forget my post game of OU and Missouri on Sunday morning. That does it for the Blitz.